Hi, thanks everybody. So the last few sessions, thanks for staying on. And I'm going to take you on a journey through how we're trying to make most of the opportunities after introducing a new website, which is based on an open source platform, Drupal. This happened a few years ago. And what steps we have taken, and still taken, obviously, to help support and empower the institution community. I'm Stratos, part of the information services, you can see up there. So come from a central place and try to engage with the rest of the community as much as we can. So first, a familiar site for everybody. We all know of that. Everybody has lots of websites. So quick show of hands. How many people actually know how many websites are there in your university? 1, 2, okay, good. I expected fewer. Probably you don't, but still, it's a good try. We are running a web-based state audit as we speak, and we're hitting some nice big numbers. So the good thing, the interesting is that obviously they are all somehow different with each other. We have a central site, but all of the other sites are quite different with each other, as we have discussed earlier in this conference. And as universities by nature are devolved. It's college, it's school, it's business unit can pick whatever they want, whatever they like to deliver their own digital presence. And that's part of the culture. And obviously not having a clearly established standards about what needs to be done about that. So a few years ago, we delivered a new central university website, migrated the old one to the new one, big effort. And it is based on an open source platform, Drupal 7 specifically. Last migration took place last summer, July, I think, or June, which was.
2016.
Okay, thanks, Lauren. With the homepage, it was a ground up, we have provided more support from standalone instances, Drupal distributions, as you might be aware, it has been discussed later by Oxford, for example. And that was just the beginning, because at that point, our minds and our souls were dedicated to migrate all of the content and the people in terms of training to the new system. Apart from just trying to establish what was this new, weird open source world we were coming in, we identified that there was a lot of opportunities, a lot of new stuff. We didn't really imagine that would be there. And a lot of doors have opened, and we were actively moving from a very closed environment to an open source environment. A lot of people started coming to us saying, well, you're using Drupal. That's good. We're using Drupal. How can we use your Drupal installation? It's like, okay, yeah, you probably can, but let's figure out how and how we can do that. And this works both ways, because internally in the university organization, you have a lot of people asking those questions, a lot of people willing to actually do that, and our team willing to share that knowledge, but externally as well, there's a big worldwide community for Drupal, for open source communities, that you can take advantage from that knowledge. So having tried to establish how this could work, what could be the benefit, how we could take the best out of it. And at the same time, it presents an opportunity of providing flexibility. So not only having the central website as the one that could deliver the content, but with the distribution and everything else, is to try to leverage the front and the backend outputs and experiences to specific business units, all under the same standards. And a lot of knowledge sharing with a lot of people started in the university. And obviously, as all kind of these open doors, you never know what will be in the other end. So we started that journey with having lots of ideas. And that came naturally. It wasn't like it was a natural process that came over a bit of time. And we started having some what-if enthusiastic moments in terms of how we can better share what we are going to do with the central CMS so that people can know what's happening, what's coming to them, how we can public a service roadmap, how we can actually let them see and they can understand when would be the right moment for them to come in, and how they can help us prioritize those features in the best way possible. So we have established the web service roadmap, which is an open document for the universities, using an online service called Stories on Board to create this visual digital representation, and it's actually natural. It's like the fourth or fifth iteration of the actual service map, which started when we first started migrating. And we're now in a, I dare say, a more mature stage of having deciphered what we want to represent in this roadmap. It's categorized in different areas. No, I'm sure you can't see the wordings there, but there are columns for user group management, create, edit, save, structured content. So categorizing the different areas of the functionality. And we use epic stories. We don't use the lower level user story format for this roadmap. It's more of a group, a category of we need to build a news content type, or we need to enhance our staff profiles rather than actually digging into the detail. The detail comes later. We have our release history there. People can go back in time and see what has happened, and go into the future to see what's coming on the next 6 to 12 months. And we don't have timelines on that. And the reason is because we haven't yet established a continuous development culture approach. So we can't really say when something is happening. But when we know when something is happening, we upload them up. And then that roadmap triggered more questions in terms of how we can get more users being active with that roadmap, how they can influence what it contains, and how they can actually have a say in prioritizing it. So for us to establish a connection to the community and give us their feedback. And that's what we introduced of change management. And change management sounds somehow boring, like an ITIL standard, lots of processes. But essentially for us is a window through our change advisory board for the community to come and have their say and just share ideas. You don't need to be an expert to come to the change advisory board and say, well, I need this for the CMS because I have this need. And our aim was not to ask for technical details of how this should be delivered through Drupal, even though a lot of people have Drupal knowledge and they start talking, or use this module, or pick this or that code. It's not about that. And we had a specific request for change from an academic asking for support for GIF images, which might sound a bit weird to some because GIF images are related to a lot of interesting graphics. But this was more about outputs from scientific, sophisticated machines that was easy to do it on a GIF image rather than a video. So there's a big mix. There's a life cycle there where we evaluate the request for change. We submit them to the change advisory board, which approve or reject it, and we always review how this is relevant to the request, to the CMS, and to the bigger picture of where we're going, how we can take opportunities out of what is submitted. And then, apart from that, and having that pool, we started thinking about how we share the knowledge and the experience in the university, how we can talk to each other a lot more. And we have already had a lot of engagement with users, but that move to the open source environment triggered a lot more workshops, a lot more understanding of, okay, we have migrated, we have delivered a product, how we can now move forward with this product and make it better. We are being as inclusive as possible to these workshops, and we are trying to include not only representations from different organizational sides of the university, but bringing different subject matter experts as well, so they can help us understand what needs to be done. So based on all of that, we are obviously trying to do something, buzzword, break the silos. And I wish it was as easy as that guy up there just shoots a shotgun and it just falls down, but it's not, obviously. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes a lot of the pieces coming together to actually do that. And we have established communities, essentially, so people coming together from different parts of the university. It doesn't matter if they use our CMS or not. They all need to be together because ultimately the goal is to deliver an overall better digital experience. it's trying to do that together. And it was interesting that other communities of practice have started created in the university for software or for front-end development. There are some principles. These are very loosely defined, to be honest, but I drafted them to reflect on what were the main points of focus. So obviously embracing transparency, being open of what we're doing. As we say, eating our own dog food sometimes, just trying to feel what our users feel and allow users to become part of the process. Create open processes that are not hidden behind closed doors. Not just something goes into IS, information services, and just drives away into oblivion and nobody hears about it. Provide flexibility. That's very important because a lot of people see the central CMS, see the central website, and they think, well, this is what it is. We have some specific requirements here that never meets them. We're out. We're never using that. It's not about that. It's that letting them know, no, this is a product that changes dynamically, and you can help it to change, and you can be part of it. And that's where collaboration comes in, facilitating these people come in and helping us do so. And contributing as well, not just saying their word, but they can actually go away, do something that's meaningful, both in terms of code, of user research, and bring it back to us. Provide us the evidence of why their use case is a valid use case, and we can go on with it centrally. Continuous enhancement is very important, and we have been, to be honest, struggling in establishing a pure continuous enhancement environment. But I think we have done well the last few years of the migration, where we have deployed enhancements to the central CMS very often, every few months, and we have continued upgrading all of the time through the Drupal community. And ensuring quality, establishment of standards, both editorials and the editorial and content side and the technical side. And this is something which is a bit more tricky. Now, in terms of collaboration and coding, we have done some work since last summer to create what we call the collaboration development framework. Again, don't expect you to see the detail in that, but the outcome of that was to map all the processes that each case could take to bring an update into the CMS from the community. The point from this diagram is to show how complex it is. It's not as easy as saying to somebody, here's the code, you go away, code it, bring it back to us, we'll put it back together. That's not the way it works. It starts from even funding, resourcing, who's going to make that change, when they're going to make that change, what will the change be, in terms of users, user requirements, and going down to the different groups that decide if that is an appropriate change, and obviously coding itself, where there's a big process in terms of getting access to the Git environments, and then there is what we call a red line, which is the peer review of people need to then sign off to the final product. Currently, we have the process mapped. We have defined our code standards, and we are driving by the end of the summer to have our first proper version of the technical documentation ready to be available for the rest of the university, so that people can come in and take it and move forward with it. And it all goes back to people. All goes back to people and engaging and discussing and doing that regularly, and not just broadcasting changes, not just go on and say, this is what we're going to do. We're not going to tell you why we're doing it, or if it's a good idea, or just get people in a room, sitting down and just talk to them, help them engage. And we have 4 to 6 week engagement, regular sessions with editorial and technical community. Well, there is always a chance where they get to say what they need to say. There's social events as well, and there's a lot of networking happening, which we encourage. And we use the opportunity to get feedback on our services, not just broadcast what's happening. And there's a lot of channels as well. You see the link to our blog up there. I invite you to visit that. I have some links in the end of the presentations as a starting point, but I invite you to view the blog because we keep it active and dynamic all the time, not only in terms of what we deploy, but in terms of what's our thinking, what is our project, things that we've tried. There will be a blog post on IWMW as well. And we're trying to let people being part of the change. Another thing, and I'm going to touch governance a lot in this presentation, is that we have established a regular EdWeb steering group. EdWeb is the name of our central CMS, where we have a representation from CIOs from the colleges as well, where they shape up what you saw on the roadmap earlier, where they come in with their own priorities, and we discuss collectively what are the actual priorities of the university. We have a top 10 where we have an agreement between the stakeholders that this is the type of things that we need to do, and then they devolve this prioritization to their colleges. And another important part is supporting people. We come to find that a lot of people are really reluctant or even afraid to come forward and do stuff with the open source community. This is because they might not feel that they're capable enough, or they might not feel that they might be afraid that they're exposed, very much exposed to the rest of the community, the rest of the university. And they don't really want to put their hand in handing out a piece of code or something that they might get them in the open. So what we're trying to do is to give people a sense of ownership of what they're happening. So if there is a significant change from a school, for example, the business school or any other school, they can drive the change forward themselves. Because if they own the use case, if they own the business need, and they understand it a lot better than us, we welcome them to come in, collaborate with us, and we can safely say they are the drivers of change. So providing support, regular support, apart from our support desk, which is open all the time, and drop-in sessions, talk to people, face-to-face support is very important. You can have as many support materials as you can, but if people cannot know where actually to turn when they have a problem or even come over, it's very difficult. Provide training, apart from the CMS training and the writing for the web, which is mandatory for all the editors. Google Analytics. We started running code sprints. That's a photo from one of our code sprints with developers just getting all in a room in one day. And we give them some specific, very low level in terms of technical effort requirements. And by the end of the day, we have a lot of bugs fixed, issues resolved, but most importantly, we have people collaborating and understanding that they can work together even though they don't see each other every day, or they are in different schools or colleges. And we are going to run our 4th code sprint this September, and we're always making some changes to make it more appealing to people, introducing new tools, introducing new pieces of training, and going on. We do offer consultancy as well, both in digital content strategy and user experience, which I'm going to talk about in a second. So overall, the most important thing is that change of culture. You can introduce as many tools as you can, and we have discussed that, and a lot of people have touched on this. It's obvious. If you start doing that, that is the most fundamental thing that needs to change to allow the actual collaboration to happen with the rest of the university community. And as I said, it's not easy, it takes time, and it takes effort. It doesn't happen in a day. It's a lot easier within a specific section. For example, within our section, we can work about a lot more, but for the rest of the university, you always have people coming up with new things. People are equally often they're more important to me anyway than technology. If people don't understand what you're trying to do, whatever tools you provide, they won't engage with them. Another important part is embed the users and the processes into delivery, not as an add-on. It's not a nice to have. It's a must-have. You must do that so that your product becomes as best as possible. And the community needs to understand that. Don't come up with solutions. Come up with the use cases. And leverage platforms to fit user needs, not vice versa. This is self-evident, I think. Another thing is that I said it takes time, so taking small steps. Try to evolve, not to try to put a big revolution of here it is. We have tried to put some revolution pieces of work as we go, and it didn't really work because it was a lot of unanswered questions that were started coming to us. And it not needs one step at a time, and it takes years, but you'll get there. And the last quote is something I heard a lot more. It's a very important thing about culture. anybody can copy your strategy. We can go to so many different places to look at strategies, but culture is something that it's part of the organization. Nobody can copy that. And if you achieve that, then you have put a big win in your bag. Now, I want to talk a bit about digital transformation. We have a big three-year digital transformation initiative in our university as we speak. And it's going to deliver a lot of new stuff, tools. But we're aiming not only to do that, but actually to help in changing that culture as we talk. So apart from a new user-centered portal, a lot of APIs to integrate between services, and a big data warehouse where we hopefully can store a lot, not all of our data. There are two specific, there's a specific program that's very well connected to this work, to our work. It's called the User Experience Program. My colleague Neil Allison, most people might know or heard about him. He's leading that, and the main pillars are to introduce design thinking to the university, which is a very well-known methodology. And the team has produced a human-centered design process. And the aim is to embed it to the project delivery process of the university, not just that, and that's not just for the central CMS, that's for all kinds of projects. Essentially, what we're trying to do here is to scale up what we have been doing for a good while at our team to be accessible, to be used by the rest of the university, first information services and the rest of the university. And to do that, there's going to be an offering of user experience training, and obviously consultancy, but training to the whole of the university again, so that everybody can have a slice of understanding of user experience that they can apply to their own projects. And it all comes down to the people, as I said. There is a big effort in establishing digital standards, it's just started, so I can't really say a lot more about it, but the goal again is to establish those standards that we can follow and other people can follow, and we can make sure that they deliver a nice experience. And last main part of it is our global experience language, which is very similar to what people at St. Andrews have presented, and I was at their workshop. It was really good. We are aiming to deliver not only a pattern library, but an interaction behavioral pattern library as well. So mine and a lot of people's favorite analogy is Lego bricks. So it's not only about describing the different types of Lego bricks that you have, but how they connect together to make something a coherent experience. Because you can have, for example, 6 8-stud Lego bricks can bring more than 1 billion ways to bring them together, but how many of them are actually meaningful, and how many of them are actually say something to the user. The same applies with all the pattern libraries. If you don't establish the standards, then they'll just fall away. And we are aiming to cover, and currently this has been developed as part of the central CMS, but we're aiming to cover all sorts of different digital experiences, including applications, services, portal, communications, emails, newsletters. There's a lot of interest. And even this presentation is using elements from Agile. The other plan is to deliver a service to the university for the gel, so that it can manage the code base, make changes to it, and deliver enhancements and introduce new designs when needed, at the same time being available for consultancy. So any project that wants to use the gel, they can come into the gel service and they can ask the question of how can we actually use Agile? What's the behaviors? What's there in the database already which we can use, and what's new to be built? And obviously this is done all in a platform agnostic way. We are not talking platforms here. It's everything outside Drupal, outside WordPress, outside anything else. And it needs to fit to each platform separately. So what's the bigger picture on that? So you can see the different layers here is starting from standards at the bottom, then everything else needs to follow standards. Infrastructure, have the UX and Agile service working together, because we have identified that all of these 3 pillars, standards, UX service, and Agile, need to be very close, need to inform each other on how these evolve through time. And then this then delivers to services and platforms, which then have content and deliver a university digital experience. So if all of these pillars can work together, they can deliver a unified, coherent user experience. And it all comes from people and goes back to people, other users or the community. But the main thing that encompasses everything is culture. If everything that happens there is not following the culture, then you kind of have people deviating, you kind of have a digital user experience don't being the one that's supposed to be. And that's what we're putting a lot of our effort in, is to bring that culture forward. So, as I promised, some links to get you started on viewing our activities. These are on our sites on Lanyard as well, so you feel free to roam, feel free to come in, explore what we're doing. There's going to be a lot more as we go on into delivering the services and going a lot more workshops and a lot more engagement with people. And thank you very much.